Good morning, everyone. How are we? Welcome to this webinar, and today we are going to dive deeper into self-doubt. Now, self-doubt is very interrelated with imposter syndrome, and that's why today I want to talk to you guys a bit about it. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes while I can see some people jumping in online, just jumping in there. Let's just have a quick look. You can see it on the Facebook page. Fantastic. All right. So yeah, we're going to be diving deeper into overcoming self-doubt. Because when we start to go into chronic self-doubt, we can start to have definitely a lot of problems with chronic health issues that can stem from that. And so if we want to begin to start to take some self-care of ourselves, if we want to start having self-care, we need to start looking after ourselves. We need to begin to address self-doubt at the early stages. And there's lots of techniques that we can use to move ourselves forward here. And I'm just going to jump on into here. All right, so my name is Matt Steer, and I will be the host here for this evening for this webinar. It's actually morning, isn't it? Of course it's morning. I've changed it to a nice Saturday morning webinar just to try and reach some more people, which is fantastic. All right, so let's just jump straight on in there. Yes, we got excellent. All right, so what are we going to learn in this webinar? We're firstly going to start looking at self-doubt as being a pattern of behavior. These patterns can be changed. It's habits. So we'll dive deeper into about what is actually the self-doubt, how they're patterns of behavior, and then how we can change them using the power of visualization. This is a strategy that people know about, but from my experience, using it is something for which they struggle to reach or use. And so we're going to walk through a process that I use every day to get myself ready for the day ahead. And days that I don't do this, the days that I don't prepare my mind for what it's for the day ahead, I really do seem to meet a lot of obstacles and do experience self-doubt even today with myself, and I have to pick myself up really quickly so that I can keep going. Now, we're also going to dive into about how self-doubt came about for you, and potentially for you, it was a protective mechanism that was developed. It might have served you back in the younger years, but if you want to create a life on your terms, a life that's working for you, you need to move past that protection mechanism that was developed, when you were 3, 4, 5, whatever it was that happened back in the day. It is there. I'm just checking, sorry, online. We need to, there it is. Excellent. All right. Yep, it's definitely happening. So, turn that down. All right. So, we want to begin to look at that protective mechanism, thank it, and we're going to move on. Okay. So who is this presentation for? Anyone who's a healthcare professional. If you're a healthcare professional, you have experienced some form of self-doubt. If you're experiencing self-doubt, a lot of people, even people that aren't in healthcare, stepping into owning their own business, working for other people, they experience self-doubt. If you're experiencing feelings of feeling like you've been a fraud or you're being found out, this presentation is going to be for you. One of the things that I have discovered throughout the course of the last 20 years is there are a lot of fixed beliefs that is just the way things are. I was lucky in that moment. I've been to those events that are on the ward, like as the response team, MET team, whatever you want to call it. As the MET team arriving, you hear about these amazing nurses that have found this patient and they've just reacted in the way that they have, and they followed the algorithm, and as a result, we had a successful outcome with the patient. Unfortunately, afterwards, it was just luck. Oh, it just happened to be luck. No, it wasn't luck. It was all the training, the skills that you've acquired over the years that got you to be able to respond unconsciously the way that you did. And that is absolutely fantastic. You should be proud of yourself. It's not just the way that you were. It wasn't just luck. You have conditioned and trained yourself to be able to respond that way. So if you think that those were just luck or you just happened to be in the right place at the same time, this presentation is for you. And I'll just cover the next one. All right. Who is this presentation not for? People that are looking for a magic pill. I posted this a couple of days ago. It was a funny meme. It was shared on one of the nursing meme sites. It was hilarious, but it is also very true. The amount of people that are looking for magic pills versus the people who actually want to begin to make a change of their lifestyle is it's amazing to watch. So if you're not ready to make change, feel free, listen on this webinar, but this webinar is about making change, because a coach is about getting you to the destination that you want to achieve, not stay where you have been in the past. All right, so I'm just going to move deeper into this webinar. Let's get going. All right, so how are you going to get the most out of this training? Let's turn off our phone, let's turn off Messenger, put it on to silent, but grab your notes, grab your notepad. I want you to be 100% focused and present here on this webinar. Your time is precious. My time is precious. Be 100% present on this webinar. And if you've got questions, write them down. I'll try and address them at the end. Otherwise, make sure you reach out to me in the DMs and we can have a chat about it. So who am I? I'm Matt Steer. I'm a healthcare professional and life coach. Life coaching has been a passion of mine for over 20 years, and I've been using skills like NLP when I was working in emergency, and I've spent the majority of my time in the emergency department. And it's a fantastic place to be able to use a lot of these skills, but to move forward, I had to begin to make change, and that's what happened for me over 10 years ago. I made a decision to make change because I was tired of where I was living. I was tired of feeling like I wasn't the right person for this. I felt a lot of self-doubt. I just happened to be lucky a lot of the time with a lot of the experiences that I had. You know what? I had to realize that it wasn't actually luck. It was the hard work and the perseverance that had been put in the background that was able to help me to move forward. That started my quest. It started a journey so that I could change my life. And as a result, now, 12 years later, whatever it is, I've married a beautiful, beautiful woman. I've been able to start a family and begin to start the journey living life as I wanted to live it. It doesn't mean that I don't experience self-doubt anymore. What it does mean is that I've got tools and strategies now for when those moments come up, I'm able to move forward quickly, not stay in it for days or weeks or feel like crap for months. In minutes, I'm able to change myself quickly, and that's why I wanted to share this information with you today. Because I believe that here, for us healthcare professionals, these tools and strategies are not provided to us. They're not taught to us in uni, and I want to share them with you today. So we're going to learn about self-doubt, because if we let self-doubt mount up, where we allow the inner dialogue to hold us down, keep us back, that's going to prevent us from moving forward. Often, chronic self-doubt is connected with imposter syndrome, and that's why I'm talking about self-doubt today. They're very interrelated. We're going to learn today about how we can control the meaning. I'm going to walk you through an exercise. I just said this morning, should be this morning. I'm going to walk you through an exercise where we're going to generate feelings, and you are completely in control of that exercise. And you are able to attach your choice of a meaning to that. So we're going to walk through that exercise. Now, we want to learn to begin to change the inner dialogue that we have. The inner dialogue is something that I've touched on a couple of webinars ago. If you haven't watched that one, happy to send that through to you. Just hit me up in the DM and just say you're on this webinar and you would like access to that inner dialogue webinar. And I'm more than happy to send a link through to you. We're also going to walk through the process of how I visualize each day what it is that I want to experience. Okay. All right. How's everyone going? Good. Yep. A few people there. Fantastic. Great to see a lot better quality today. Excellent. All right. So let's dive into what is self-doubt. Now, a belief that to live by every day, and I will walk you through something around that. So to help you understand that if you adopt this belief, you'll be able to begin to make change yourself. And we'll also dive into a little bit about why we have self-doubt. So what is self-doubt? It's a lack of confidence, a lack or a low self-esteem that we have about ourselves. We doubt or feel incapable of being able to step into new challenges where we feel uncertain, where we don't have the resources within inside of us to move forward. And what we want to do is, sorry, I was jumping ahead. All right, so we want to feel like we're an imposter. We're not ready for these sort of things. We don't feel like we're right for these roles. Unfortunately, it quite often begins to mount, and we have these collection of doubts that begin to erode at our confidence and our abilities and our skills. This is where things like you get those performance appraisals that come back for you, and on your list there's 99 great things about what you have done well. Yet there's that one thing that we focus on of where we can improve. Even though our manager's got to give us something of that area for improvement, no one's 100% perfect. No one's been 100% on their game during those performance appraisals. And yet what happens is that we focus on that one thing that we didn't do well. Yet you could be truthful and say, actually, that is an area that I can definitely improve in on. And it's true what they're saying. But we've forgotten about those 99 other things that we did very well. Instead, we focus on that one thing. So self-doubt is nothing more than a set of habits, patterns of behavior, learnt strategies. So where do we get these from? We pick them up from our family, our friends, these people that are around us. We learn them from role models. And I'll talk about a little bit later where we can find good things from our role models, because the belief that I talk about is learning from our good role models, but we can also adversely have disempowering beliefs and strategies or patterns of behavior that lead us to self-doubt. And so we've got to be very mindful and stand guard at our mind to protect those things that aren't going to help us get towards our goals. So we learn these patterns and behaviors from our families, from our friends, from our communities, our church groups, our volunteer groups, whatever it is, we pick up on things. We pick up on, we might aspire or look at someone, but unfortunately it may not be beneficial, or may also have an inherited, self-doubt qualities about it. So we need to be very mindful about how we've learnt these strategies. Did the strategies when we were 5 and 6 suit us now? Now, self-doubt doesn't necessarily affect us in all areas of our life. It can affect us just in one area. Maybe your role at work, maybe self-doubt around your ability to manage finances, maybe your ability to put yourself in front of a crowd of people, doing these webinars, providing a case review to your colleagues, to your faculty. These are places where you may just experience self-doubt, but all other areas you may be fine. It may be just with particular groups of people you may have you experience a lot of self-doubt when you're around potentially people that have been and have more experience than you. Different environments can be triggers for self-doubt, different events, and unfortunately this then begins to affect our image as a whole. Now, this is where we go into chronic. All right, so why is there self-doubt? It was there to protect you. At some stage, you've developed this pattern of behavior from either fear, loss, or being hurt, or to protect yourself from any of these. So it was a good protective mechanism, whether that was public speaking. You may have a fear around getting up because at some stage something may have happened where you may think you're not good enough to be able to speak like someone else, or you've compared yourself to an experienced speaker who's got 20 years of experience, and then these conversations run through your mind about your ability to respond or act with what on stage as one of those speakers might be. So we have a fear of being, found out or not knowing the answers to the questions. And so we have this protective mechanism going on, these protective patterns of behavior, these learned strategies to make sure that we don't put ourselves into that danger, because our brains want to protect us. It wants to protect us from being hurt, from a loss, from being hurt. So my question to you is, what are you sacrificing 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, if you continue to hold on to your pattern of behavior, that self-doubt of why you're on this call, on this webinar today? I want you to think about that and begin to paint a picture in your mind. What are you sacrificing by not overcoming that fear or that potential hurt or that potential loss? You're using those protective mechanisms so that you don't step into your greatness, because there's a cost involved in not stepping into them. There's a cost involved in continuing to play small, to allowing those self-doubts to take over. So, fantastic, excellent. So, there is a belief that it took me a little bit to understand this, and that's why I'll unpack it a little bit. But the belief is that if someone else has been able to achieve something, then I can too. Because these are nothing, if we look at it from a pattern of behavior, so an organization of which we do something in order to achieve it. That's how we feel, how we see things, how we feel emotions around things. If someone else is able to stand in front of the faculty, provide a case review, which you need to do, on a case for your faculty, you need to provide a case review of a subject. And for you, public speaking, you experience so much incredible self-doubt around public speaking. If someone else is able to confidently step up, you're able to also manage those emotions inside, potentially create images in your mind about the success that you could have by speaking, their strategies that they go about to accumulate the information to present it, or how they manage their own fear when they step in front of that group. You're able to achieve and generate the same emotions or move those emotions around, change them to a different meaning. You are able to do that as well. You are able to think about the same sort of thing, potentially, if that's what excites you or the way that you look at things. You're able to do the same process that someone else who does it confidently is able to do. We then begin to eliminate that self-doubt because we've changed our strategy, our process of feeling like whatever it is that we're feeling. We're able to then change that so we step forward. All right. So I use the term here around language, but it's communication. It's around how we communicate with ourselves, the languages that we use within ourselves. So I'm going to dive into this a little bit, because with self-doubt, unfortunately, we often go down deeper with it. We don't use the most empowering conversation to help us move forward. Now, our unconscious mind is always eavesdropping on the words that we say. So we need to become very mindful about these words, because I'll walk through a process very shortly where you will see how the words that we're saying can generate those feelings that we want to have. So if we want to begin to change how we're feeling, let's begin to change the words that we're using. So let's walk through this exercise. I want you to think back for a minute. So anyone who's in healthcare, especially if you've come from a hospital environment, I want you to think back for a minute. Just bear with me with this exercise for a second. I want you to walk through this exercise with me where you start to picture that moment when you're trying to communicate a really sensitive topic and you are having to use an interpreter to communicate that information. Have you got a picture? Fantastic. You've got something coming through? Fantastic. All right. So how did, in those moments when you were trying to communicate, you were had the best of intention with what you were trying to say, yet potentially the information that's come back to you through the interpreter isn't quite the answer that you're thinking about. I will lead to something very shortly. Trust me, work with me here for a second. When I was in Papua New Guinea, I was up there running clinics up there and working on helicopters. Fantastic experience. One of the things that I was there for was the expats, and we had a very small population of the expats. We're an expat doctor, an expat nurse, and the rest were made up of nationals and other country nationals. So when I thought about the nationals and my team of the nationals that we had, Pidgin was our predominant language. But under Pidgin, up in Papua New Guinea, there's about 806 or 804, I can't remember exactly, how many different dialects of the language there is up there. Now, my initial assumption was, well, if everyone can speak Pidgin, everyone can communicate the same. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And we ran into problems with the workers, not with the healthcare team, but with the workers, when the dialects didn't align with Pidgin. So they might have been heavily engrossed as a worker around their dialect, but they couldn't actually speak Pidgin. So our common translation was very difficult to have, and that created us a lot of problems in our forms of communication, a lot of misinformation. So can well-intentioned words be misinterpreted? Can we have situations where someone is trying to communicate something with the best of intention with their words, but unfortunately that intention isn't the thing that was received by the other person, or it was lost in translation because we've used different words, or at the stage they didn't have a full grasp of the language and how it was being used at the time. The reason I'm bringing this up is because often things that have happened in our past, we've had potentially, not all the time, but possibly a situation where someone has said something to us, we've made a decision, created some meanings, we experienced a lot of feeling around that, and now that's becoming that feeling of when we want to step up. So while someone may have said something in the past, we've begun to link some words or a situation to where we're going to feel self-doubt. What happens is that those voices begin to start up behind in our mind. We begin to have that little quiet voice that begins to doubt our ability coming up. So whilst the trigger for that was well-intentioned at the time, unfortunately, that can be lost, and we've created a different meaning throughout the years, throughout our life. Yeah, that voice, unfortunately, continues. So my question to you is the voice that is this voice empowering you or disempowering you? Is this communication a language that is downplaying our abilities? So this is where someone has successfully saved someone and they've been able to unconsciously just run through the basic life support algorithm, and they have successfully been able to bring a patient back. But they downplayed it. Was just luck. It was just, just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Or was it actually, you know what? I've studied really hard to make sure I know my BLS algorithm. I've studied really hard to make sure that I raise that awareness of the situation quickly where I send for help. Or is our downplay like bringing it down? Just chill, man. It's nothing. This can begin to perpetuate a cycle for us. We want to become very aware when we're downplaying things, and when we want to, basically stand in our belief in our ability, be confident with the fact that we stepped up. When we're downplaying, I want you to become aware of the words that you're saying. We hear this when we're coaching. I can't do that. I can't do X. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. Why aren't you ready? Why do you think you're not good enough? But often these conversations, how many times have they played out in the back of our mind? Just quietly in the background. Then they begin to ramp up a little bit. Yeah? Unfortunately, that's quite often what can happen. All right, just checking. Looking good, looking like we're still alive. Still got things happening. Fantastic. The unconscious mind is always listening. It's always listening. So if we're beginning to tell ourselves we can't do X, it's going to, we believe that we can't do X. The unconscious mind starts to source and find memories within our amygdala, and it sources and finds this information. The RAS is a little part here in the back of the brain. It's getting all this data, it's the information. I've covered this in different webinars before, so if you'd like access to more information about that, we can definitely pass that on to you. Just reach out to me. So the amygdala, the RAS system is here in the back of our minds. It's going, she's saying to herself, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough in this situation, whatever it is. It then fires off those, goes to the amygdala. Amygdala goes, oh, I've got memories of what that used to look like and feel for you. I'm going to give you that experience now. We begin to feel like X, whatever it is that you're not feeling good enough. We want to become aware of those conversations, what's going on there in the back of our mind. Because we don't want to be experiencing those things, change those conversations. So the RAS is always eavesdropping on the back of our mind. The other thing I just want to point out here in this section, because the unconscious mind is always listening, you want to become aware of the how you're speaking about others, because that information is being taken on board with your unconscious mind. It takes this information quite personally, and so it thinks that even though you're talking bad about someone else, it actually takes it personally, and we begin to erode our own confidence. What if this person thinks about the same with me? So if you want to begin to overcome your own self-doubt, become aware of how you're communicating about others. Those moments in the tea room when you're having the bitchy sessions. Become aware of those conversations, because you're eroding your confidence, the trust you have in yourself, because your unconscious mind is always eavesdropping on that information. Now, Jim Rohn summed this up very, very simply. He just said, we must stand guard at the door of our mind. I love that. I think it's absolutely fantastic. We must always be on guard to make sure that we are aware of the patterns and the behaviors for which we're adopting and bringing on board. If we're looking for a role model, the difference between mentoring and coaching, the coaching, you're finding what's right for you. When you're looking for role models and mentors, it's how they've achieved their success. So we need to become and find that balance. Is your values, is your beliefs, all that kind of stuff aligned with what you want from your role model? So we can make sure that we're moving in the right direction. We don't begin to experience self-doubt because we're not achieving those same goals. If you want to learn to be able to create the same outcomes, we must also be aligned with the same values or the trajectory of what we want to do. We must bring these together. We must be on guard at the doorway to our mind at all times. So that's it. No, I'm joking. All right. What I want you guys to do here is, webinar's still going. We are, I want you to become aware of the language that you're using. How are you using self-doubt? How are you speaking to others? What are the triggers that generated your self-doubt? This is really big. I want you to stop rationalizing, making excuses for why you haven't achieved X. Stop making them. Stop believing the stories that have been created in your communication, in your language, of why you haven't achieved X yet. I want you to be very aware of that. I want you to start practicing some self-compassion. To make change, you need to begin to be more compassionate towards yourself. All right, I hope this is all starting to make sense. All right, super. Excellent. Cool. All right, let's dive into feelings and emotions. All right, these are the things that are coming up when we begin to feel self-doubt, or we might feel them when we step into that moment where you're pointed as that person in charge and you're like, oh, I'm not ready for this, I'm not ready for this. And these emotions, these feelings come up. We're actually in charge of the meaning that we attach to them. We're going to go through this exercise that I mentioned at the start of the webinar. And we're going to go through, I forgot about this section. So what we're going to do at the end of this is basically debrief, and I'm going to get you to walk through for you what happened and how you can then begin to make changes in your life. So I once learned that nothing has meaning except the choice I assign to the meaning. I chose to give it the particular meaning that I have. Nothing has meaning except the meaning I choose to give it. How powerful is that? So yes, people have definitions about what something might mean. But you know what? I'm actually in charge of the choice that I assign a meaning to that decision, that thing, whatever it is. I'm in charge. Not anyone else. I'm in charge. So, what is the feeling you get during moments of self-doubt? And this is time I want you to start to explore that within yourself. Is it that I'm not good enough? Fear what people will say. What about losing or not getting it right? As I mentioned on many webinars, perfectionism. I would have self-doubt about not getting it right, and it prevents you from moving forward. Prevents you from taking the step. I had fear about what people would say. I'm sure many other people taking a bold step to do live webinars would also experience some fear about stepping in front of the camera, and we have to learn how to overcome them. We need to become aware of the feelings that we've got and the meaning that we attach to that fear that's preventing us from moving forward. So I'd like you to walk through this exercise with me. If that's all right, I will just change my screen here. Maybe? All right. So we're going to walk through this exercise. And what I would like you to do is, I'd like to close your eyes if it's safe to do so. Just close them. Just take a nice couple of deep breaths. And I would like you to go to a time when you felt totally excited. When you felt that excitement running through you. Just bring it up. I want you to bring it up. Might be when you were stepping on stage and you won that award that you had worked so hard for. You got Ducks of the Year, or an achievement that you got from your graduation. Like, you've come from the person who's made the most work towards something. You know, you've achieved that award. Maybe it was a holiday you'd been on. And I want you to really feel that right now. I want you to experience it. I want you to feel it. That's it. And what meaning did you attach to that event? What meaning? Just think about it in your mind. What meaning did you give it? What meaning have you provided or allowed yourself to believe of that event, and why it's generating that excitement? And just feel that excitement still just running through your veins, through your fingertips, through your toes. It's running back up into your gut, in your belly. It's just feel great from it all. So, what is the choice that you've chosen to give it? Why did you give that choice? Why did you give that choice? All right, guys. I'd like you to come back. Come back now. Come back. All right, that's it. What you just did was you accessed what's called a gestalt, a memory. So my question to you is, did you choose to have that memory? Did you choose to find that memory? Did at some stage you chose the meaning? You might say, well, no, it just happened. May have been an unconscious process for which you have assigned a meaning because that meaning meant so much to you. So you accessed a gestalt, a file that you're able to assign meaning to, you, a memory that's within inside of you that you have assigned a memory to. So we're able to access this information. We're able to feel it. You were able to do that just by listening to what I said. If you chose not to do the exercise, that was a choice. You chose to do the exercise, that was a choice. It was up to you. What you did was that you asked your unconscious mind to recall a memory. You asked your unconscious mind to recall something that was good. We could have recalled a memory that could have been bad. And what that is it's a choice. Now let's begin to change the meaning of the events that we don't want to experience. Yeah? That's what the next stage is, that because we are able to have these positive memories, what about where memories that may not have been so positive, we begin to make changes on them, begin to have a new belief around them. Because you chose to have that meaning for the event. We can change the past events with new meaning if we want to. It's a choice. That feeling you experienced, you could have the same feeling, but you could have a different meaning to it. Fear could be a new meaning of when you feel that fear as you're about to get on stage and present that case review to the group. It could be excitement because for you, you're stepping outside your comfort zone. You're pushing that boundary that's around you that feels like these limiting walls. Instead of focusing on those limiting walls, we're going to step past them and overcome that self-doubt. How good would that be? We can assign the meaning that we choose to have to an event, to a feeling, to something that's going on in our life. So I ask you this question: what is the cost of holding on to this limiting belief? So this self-doubt, this pattern. Is it affecting your career? Is it affecting you financially? Is it affecting you spiritually? Is it with your friends and family? What is the cost of holding and continuing to hold on to that self-doubt? I want you to start asking yourself then, what else could this event or events where I experience self-doubt, what else could it mean? What other feelings could I experience? Would that fear be excitement? Would you redefine those moments as, yeah, the event happened, I experienced those emotions, but you know what? It sucked for a week, but as a result, I got great insights, fantastic insights along the journey that have created the life that I wanted to have now. But unfortunately, I still focus on that one thing, and that erodes my ability to step in front of the people, speak at events, or get in front of to present the case reviews, or I talk myself down when I've done something really, really well. Now, with my paid clients, there are a lot deeper and more rapid changing techniques that we can use. And I just wanted to put it out there. There are rapid changing techniques that we can use to make shifts really quickly in these areas. All right, is this all beginning to make sense? All right, let's just have a look. We are good, we are live. That's a bit delayed going on there, but that's all right. I can live with that. All right. So how's everyone enjoying it so far? I hope this is helpful for you. You are ultimately in control. You have the ability to make a shift at any stage of your life of what you believe, what you see, what you feel. You're able to change that. Now, I want to dive into the visualization technique that I use. And this has been talked about a lot. And many coaching clients have said, well, I know about visualization. But are you practicing it? Are you practicing the technique of walking in? Now, some people use meditation. There are lots of different techniques, but basically what I'm talking about is where you see yourself in your mind's eye, being able to create what it is that you want to do, walk past whatever it is that you want to do. But first, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper because we see things twice, all right? We begin to see things twice. I'll backtrack there for a second. This is Dr. Wayne Dwyer, and he had a saying that you'll see it when you believe it. You'll see it when you believe it. We first must believe in our minds, be able to walk into that new feeling, that emotion that we want to create, overcoming self-doubt. We must see it and we must believe it first. Believe it here. Create those emotions. Create it in our mind. Visualize how that's going to feel. Then we're going to see it. Because doesn't what happened in the world around us sometimes things just happen? Yet it's a belief that we might have. If you believe that money's really hard to come by, how easy is money to come by? Pretty hard, isn't it? We must believe that we can access it. We have the belief that we can move forward. So we need to create this first here inside ourselves. We use visualization as a technique to be able to affirm that belief. Then we begin to see things in reality. We actually see things twice. So we must see things in our mind, then we see things out in the world in front of us. So what this means is that if you have a fear about presenting that case review to faculty, if you have that fear about presenting it to your cohort, there's an image that's going to come up and it's going to trigger something within you potentially. You're going to see that inside your mind. You're then going to see that in reality out front. You're going to already feel those emotions. You're going to feel those experiences inside of you. We want to begin to change how we're seeing that image. So again, this is coming from our reticular activating system. What we want to do with that reticular activating system, and this is because we've got a limited amount of data of which we can focus on. There's like 2 million bits of data around me right now that I could be focused on. But this reticular activating system is putting forward what I tell it basically to what to focus on. So yes, I could be focused on what it's like to present and speaking to people, being live. I could be focused on next door, people that have come over. Any one of these things you could be focused on. You must begin to set the intention with your reticular activating system so that it shows you what you want to experience. If you want to see yourself being successful, overcoming that self-doubt, you must begin to tell it what you want to do. Set its intention. We begin to visualize what it is that you want to experience. We must make it empowering. Make it empowering. Because saying, I don't want to be in debt, it's just going to focus on, I want to be in debt, because it doesn't think about the word don't. You want to be making things, I want to be earning X. I want to present this case review strong, confident. I want to see myself doing it. I want to bring the emotions that I want to experience with it. Yeah? You want to bring them up. You want to feel that in this process so that the RAS over here, poorly turned. In your RAS, you want it to be going, okay, this is important. This is what we need to be focusing on. Let's find moments in this situation where you can feel confident, where you do feel successful as a result. You know what? I just had to learn the structure of what I was presenting. The actual flow of words is able to just flow with as I'm speaking, feeding off my crowd, feeding off the people that are around me. Yeah? You've got to learn to begin to trust your unconscious mind with this as well. So if you affirm with the decisions that you want to make and you set that intention with the process I'm going to walk through very shortly, you set that intention, you must trust that it's going to happen for you. Now, incongruencies, when we have incongruencies in our life, our values aren't quite aligned, this is when problems can happen. So we've got to get that stuff sorted out too. Yep. But if you want to step into being able to confidently present your case review or whatever it is that you're experiencing where you have that self-doubt, getting these aligned and experiencing it, you're going to create and cement change, create new neural networks. So I'm going to walk you through very shortly the process that I use. Now, what I will add to this, and I just talked about incongruencies, another way that we can make those shifts is going to be upcoming in a book that I'm bringing out very, very shortly. And it's around the physiology and the mind. I'm a very active person. I like to move. Movement creates emotion. It creates life. The fastest way we can change the emotions that are going on inside of us is to move. For this webinar, I was jumping around. I was getting myself ready so that that emotion of being certain, of being ready, is in me now. Okay? So in my upcoming book, we can use physical as well as in the moment now to make those changes. With visualization, we can really cement those changes that we want to make. All right. So I'll just quickly walk through this process with you. What I do is that after getting myself ready, I'm very clear about what it is that I want to focus on and set my intention for the day. So let's just say for this webinar, I've set the intention. I have set the belief that I want to convey the importance of understanding the patterns of behavior that we can change so that we don't experience self-doubt, or when they do come up, we're able to quickly change them to something else in new situations. My intention is to be able to convey that message in this webinar. That's the big thing I want to convey here in this webinar. I must be clear on that before I walking into this, before I walk into my visualization exercise. So I set that intention first before I start. So I'm clear on that. I then begin to take some deep breaths. And just begin to settle, relax myself down. Just let my nervous system settle. Just chill. Once I feel nice and relaxed, got myself calm, I just feel myself settling down. Find 3 moments where I can feel so incredibly grateful for life. It could be anything. I encourage you to find things small, because otherwise, if we focus on always finding big things, it can limit us later on. It could be anything small, anything that you could just appreciate right now. Maybe it was a friend who just said, "Thank you for that help." Maybe that was just a great moment. Thank you to that nurse for just pointing that potential error out for me. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you. And thank you for being there for me. I'm really appreciative. Fantastic. Find 3 moments that you could be grateful for. In the next step, while I'm feeling incredibly grateful for, I just connect to this energy that's bigger than us. I choose to believe that there is something a lot bigger than me. I don't know what that is, but I choose to feel it. I choose to connect to it. And it's a choice for me. It's just what I choose to believe. But some people call it God, infinite intelligence, something that's bigger than them. And I've tried not to believe that. And personally, from experience, I find it more encouraging, more rewarding to choose to believe that there's something there. Now, you can put names to that, whatever you want to do. Choose to connect to that, because then I'm serving a bigger purpose. Then I walk into my intention. I walk into what it is that I want to experience. I walked into being able to deliver this message to saying to you guys, these are patterns of behavior. These are patterns of behavior that can be changed. If you're regularly experiencing things in certain situations, you can change them. And so I walked into the person that's able to deliver that information for you today in the way that I know how to today. And being really comfortable with that. And then when I'm ready, just say thank you. And I start my day. Really is that simple. We want to stack these wins, the celebrations. This is where the moments of gratitude kick in. You want to stack them. You want to feel them and celebrate on them. Because if we want to make change, we need to have these wins that are stacked. We're telling our reticular activating system what to focus on. Okay? We're telling it. what to focus on. So my question to you is, what kind of person would you become if you took charge of this self-doubt to make change? What kind of person do you need to become that you're able to own this area of your life right now? Don't think about, too many other things up the road. With your skill set right now, you can learn, you can grow, you can change. You can change this again. Give yourself compassion that right now you may not have all those skills, but you can learn, you can grow, you can develop. Build on what you know. The person you are today is not the person you were a year ago. You've made shifts, you've made changes. All right. I hope this is all making sense for you guys now. Hang on. Let's change that back. All right. So this is coming to the end of the webinar this time. What we've learned today is it's a choice to continue to live with your self-doubt. There are tools and strategies for new situations where you can overcome them, change the meaning, change the feeling. Those past self-doubt moments that come up for you regularly, these events that seem to always reoccur, they can be changed. Could they be happening for you so that you learn the skills, develop new strategies, so that you can get to your big eventual goal? These strategies have been conditioned into you. You can change them. You can change the meaning. You can change what it feels like. We learned about the fact that they're here to protect you. They're here to make sure that you don't get hurt. You also learn about the fact that if we want to be able to do what other people are doing, we're able to replicate them. But it means we've got to develop the same strategies that that person uses to create that end goal. But you also need to be mindful that that person may also have their self-doubts. We don't want to take them on. Yeah? So be mindful about who you're role modeling, but you're also able to achieve the same results. So I don't want you to waste this opportunity today. I want you to go and find someone who's going to be making you accountable for moving forward, creating the change that you want to experience in life. You are in control of your life. You are in control of the choice. You are in control of the meaning that you're attaching to things. If you want to overcome self-doubt, if you want to begin to make small shifts by just closing your eyes and seeing yourself being that person that you want to become, you will begin to become that person. Begin to make those shifts. If you want to get there quicker, again, I'm coaching. That's what I do. I help people make those shifts quicker. I help people get congruency with their values and their beliefs a lot quicker. That's what coaching's for. We can do it quickly, or you can take your time getting there. Everyone's different. If you're interested to learn how to get to your goals quicker, if you're interested in overcoming that self-doubt, could be with, you're going into private business. You're wanting to create your own private business, but you have doubt around what you're charging, your client, your ability to charge what you're worth. This is where coaching helps you to make those shifts inside of you so that you do have the confidence, where you know the value that you're giving someone. Yep, you overcome that self-doubt. We can do this through our eyes visualization. You could do that with a coach to help you get there quicker. If you're interested, make sure you DM and hit me up below. All right, that is the end of the prezzo. I hope that was helpful for you guys. I will catch you later.